Let's try this one again. So we've been here before in Concho, Apache County. And for a long time, I've been thinking about establishing a secondary outpost out here. There's a lot of good things to say about it. Number one, of course, is that Apache County is still essentially zoning less, meaning that coming out here and spending a month or a year living out of an RV is not only allowed, but even in some tacit ways encouraged. Second nice thing, this is reasonably well treed, so you don't necessarily need a ton of acreage in order to have a little privacy, because those trees provide the screen. You are also not far from real mountains. Those are the whites over there. And you are not far from a paved US highway, our beloved 180. So, all things taken into account, coming out here and buying an acre or two for $5,000 or $8,000 per, probably closer to the 8, so that you don't get a completely flat, completely dry, completely treeless tract. $8,000 for a place to park and live is a very tempting deal. Over time, I've come to think that there is one potential downside. It doesn't really have anything to do with the land. It has to do with the fact that our primary base camp will be Silver City at about 6,000 feet. And the problem with this land is really that it's the same. It doesn't have the shopping and the cultural amenities that Silver City does, but the climate is more or less identical. I think that it might be a little bit preferable to go to a place that is quite different in terms of a secondary base camp. And that's really why we're taking this particular trip. It's not anything that's urgent. I'm not going to be buying a secondary base camp anytime soon, but we are going to head down to a much lower elevation. We are going to head down to a much more southern destination, down there toward the Big Bend Park. That's over in Texas. The difference in that place compared to this place is that you would have a quite warm place, relatively speaking, to go in the wintertime. So when it gets super cold in Silver City, you would have a place to go camp out that wasn't super cold. Now, the summers in Silver City at 6,000 feet are not bad. They're even better than what we're used to back in Holbrook, 10 or 14 90-degree days as opposed to 100-degree days. So it's an improvement to go to Silver City in the summertime. It's not any worse in the winter, but it does get very cold. The area down around Big Bend over in Texas, much lower, that we're going to go see, much warmer. In January, it's 10 degrees warmer, which probably doesn't sound like a lot, but it does keep the average temperature above freezing. It definitely minimizes the amount of power that you need to burn or money that you need to spend on keeping things warm. This, by the way, is what we're driving. It's a Ford Expedition, and although we're only a few miles down the road, I have liked it a whole lot more than I expected. Wildfire espresso, and the espresso is real. However, when I asked for options for coffee, they tried to sell me an Americano, and it turned out that all they really have is a house blend. Anyway, hell of a lot better than anything that existed before along this route, and we're really glad it's here. Have I already mentioned that Springerville is evolving in the right direction? Right after we left the soccer mom vibe of Wildfire Coffee, we spotted another newish coffee place just down the street, and it was called Tin Can, and it was much better. I didn't take any pictures of it because it was kind of crowded, and I didn't feel like whipping out a camera in the middle of all that, but that's the name right there. Also, on the side, there was a menu for a different place, which looked really, really good, and it turned out that the Lancheria El Pelon was that place, so I'm there now. I am order number 1, and it says the directions are, please take the meal when flash vibrate. So I'm gonna abide by those rules, and my meal is supposed to be a straight up breakfast burrito. I have very high hopes. The espresso at Tin Can was amazing, and it cost me $1.54 for a double, which is insanely good. We're pulled over between Alpine and Luna. So up here to the north of Silver, but paradoxically below Silver in elevation terms, it's been very hot. We stopped in Glenwood. It was 104 degrees in Glenwood, New Mexico. But we're looking south down at the Promised Land, and it looks like the monsoons have indeed started early there. We're hoping to run into a little rain before we're through there. There's a bird flitting around in my tree. There's another little pretty one up there. Probably too small for the GoPro to pick out, but maybe you can hear him. Needless to say, we are in beautiful Silver, and it is proving all over again in a different way what an oasis it truly is. It is 76 beautiful degrees in the middle of the afternoon, even up at 8,000 feet on the way over. It was the lowest we saw was about 83 degrees. This isn't the Silver video we are passing through today, but the one stop that almost needed to be made was right here to look for a moment and dream. About a dozen miles outside of Cruces, up here near the Migra checkpoint, it is still 90 degrees, even though it is starting to sprinkle down here. It's dropping into the upper 80s. Whereas in Silver, 3,000 feet higher or so, it was only in the upper 70s. Even though it wasn't raining, it was just monsoon buildup. Welcome to fabulous downtown El Paso. We're staying up there somewhere. That's the somewhat fancier place. A lot of well-preserved architecture. Do, 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 do. It's the fancy plaza suite. Do, 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 do. We're living the high life now.